You got a problem, you don't know what to do. Your dreams are strange, and you're seeing things too. The world is full of mystery. Life's more than you can see. You can ask Pomegranate. You can ask Pomegranate. She's a priestess.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ask Pomegranate. I'm so happy you're listening today. Listen, I'm did an interview with this woman named Ursula Dyck, who is a really fascinating person. She's a clairvoyant, and she's a palm reader, and she's a numerologist, and she talked to me for a long time about all that. I've known her for a long time. And she's actively giving readings now. If you all want a reading, give her a call. Ursula Dyck, she lives up in Vancouver Island, and she was fascinating to talk to. I had a really good time. I was so interested, I kept wanting to talk to her. So it's a long 2-hour podcast. And also, I want to remind you, you can call me, or if you want to ask me a question via email, if that's more comfortable for you, you can write me at askpomegranate@gmail.com. It's also a place you can send me money if you want to support the podcast so we can pay for the website at PayPal. That's my PayPal website number. And otherwise, give me a call at
520-222-9922. You can ask Pomegranate. You can ask Pomegranate.
Hi, welcome to Ask Pomegranate. And today I'm doing an interview with the wonderful, amazing Ursula Dyck. And Ursula, you are a psychic, or do you call yourself a psychic?
Yeah. It's really nice to be here with you as well. I don't call myself a psychic, and that's why I don't put that on my card. I used to put on my card clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
But I'm not a straight out and out psychic, where a person just sits in front of me and then I just start talking. I use palmistry and I use numerology, and through those portals, that psychic component opens up once I've made a connection.
So I thought I'd bring Ursula on today because I'm getting interested in interviewing people I know who are fascinating, and Ursula is one of the most fascinating people. And I've known Ursula since I was like, how old were since you were little kids, like you were a teenager and I was like still probably preteen, and we became friends, and you were a palmist, and began to introduce me to the world, a world that opened up for me of psychic information. Ursula took me to my first psychic, what do you call those things? Conferences, psychic fair. Yeah, where I got my first pendulum, which I still have.
It's just amazing.
And so that's like a good 40 years ago, or 45 years ago. So Ursula is a clairvoyant. She is a palm reader, and is an expert. I don't know if you teach anymore, but I'll ask you about that in a minute. And also a numerologist. And so I recently got back in touch with you after many years and asked for a reading. I got a very good reading, one of which included information about wheelbarrows and big things happening in my garden, which did happen after that. My garden got destroyed after that, and now I'm having to redo the whole thing.
Isn't that something?
By the ice storm. So, and I'm like picking up on the ice storm to come and the destruction of my yard, which is really important to me. So, welcome to Ask Pomegranate, and thanks for agreeing to be interviewed, Ursula.
Oh, I'm very much glad to be here. Nice to see you again too.
I know, it's so fun. It's fun to talk to old friends. So how did you begin getting interested in, like at the very beginning? Because you started as quite a young teenager to investigate metaphysics and things like that. How did you get interested in metaphysics, mystery, even palmistry?
Yeah, even as a child, I remember my earliest recollection of anything was around age 8. I came across a little crystal ball, you're young, you're just a kid, and wow, I was fascinated with it. And then I remember thinking, and I don't know why, but I remember thinking that the wrinkles on your knuckles, if you add them all up and divide them by 10, that was how many kids you were going to have. And I do recall also receiving a blackboard from my parents one time. I guess it'd be about 7 or 8. And I recall just pretending to be a teacher and be drawing handprints, on this blackboard. I have no idea why. I wasn't thinking anything about the lines per se. And there was nobody in my family that has any interest in this kind of field. I think that kind of often happens.
Yeah.
So by the time I became 14, that's when I decided to sort of venture into it a little bit. At our school library, there was a book called Psychic Sciences, which had a little bit of everything: astrology, tarot, numbers, tea leaf reading, dream interpretation, this kind of stuff. And it fascinated me. And when I was looking at the palmistry part, I just took to it like water. And so I was 14, which is one of my game changer years. And we'll talk about that when we get into numerology. 14 is when I really started to study it. And I started to read bits and pieces, with people. But it wasn't until I was about 19 to 21 when I went a little bit more professional and started charging people fees for a reading. And then it just sort of slowly crept up from there. Plus numerology back then too. By 21, I was doing both palmistry and numerology.
And what sort of got you interested in becoming, realizing, oh, you could actually read a palm, or how was it that book that you read when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think so. I think the book, taught me a lot. And I started to read people, and their response would be, yeah, that's true. Or I think it was still in its infancy. I certainly have grown over the years in terms of my reading style, in my reading perspective. It kind of goes with your own maturation, as you grow as a person. So I wasn't reading like I do today, but I was probably saying, oh, you got this kind of lifeline. Did this happen to you? Or, this kind of thing. And so this gave me, feedback. And then I realized after a while that I actually was doing some psychic stuff too, because there's no way I would know that particular detail in the hand. For instance, I had this one lady that came to me, and I was 21. And I read her, and I don't remember anything of the reading, except that I said to her that I see fire coming out of your front hood of your car. And she said, well, I don't know how that could be. I just bought this car. It's brand new. And she came back to me several months later and says, you know what? It wasn't even 2 or 3 days after I had told her that she was stepped out of a grocery store and the front of her car was on fire.
Whoa.
Now, there's no way I could see that in a palm.
No.
It might have been something that just triggers, I don't know. So that's where that part opens up, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I don't remember how old you were when you moved to the same street that I grew up on. That's how we met, because we lived on the same street as children.
I was 12.
12. Okay. And how much, what's the age gap between us? Are you?
We are almost 6 years apart. I'm 6 years older than you.
Oh, so I was only 6 when I met you.
Yeah.
And I think we became friends kind of later, around when I turned 12 or 13, because we just started hanging out all the time, you and your sister and I.
Yeah.
And we became friends. And do you remember? I'm just right now remembering all those. How we went to lifeguard lessons together, you and I. You remember that?
Gosh,
we used to go to lifeguard lessons. I feel like that's when we really started being friends, because, just a second.
That's a long time. I would have never remembered that until you mentioned that. I vaguely remember it.
So, yeah. But anyway, that's when we really became friends and started having a lot of really interesting conversations. And I remember you giving me a lot of readings for free. Thank you very much. Throughout my teenage years, and when I was 16, and we grew up in Canada. Ursula lived in Canada. Still, I live in the States. You said to me, and by the way, the secret is Canadians are very down on Americans. And they're also very down on Americans who moved to America. And I was one of those Canadians. And you did a rating on my palm and you said, well, you're going to move to the States. And I said, I am never, Ursula, I am never moving to the States. And 5 years later, I was living in the United States, which I have lived here ever since.
And I don't even remember telling you that.
I'll never forget it because
because
I was really like just completely convinced you had gotten that one wrong until the day I crossed the border. And then I went, and I came to Portland. And I went, I'm going to have to move here. And I've been here ever since. So you saw that in my palm, or it's because I think you are working psychically with and working with actual palmistry techniques as well. But so that was a mind blower to me. And I've never forgotten that. I don't usually forget the readings you've given me. I've had many readings, and you're one of the people. That's why I was like, I got to call Ursula. I don't know what's going on with my life. But like, maybe I can find Ursula and she can give me a reading. All right. So, when you're in those tender years, because a lot of my listeners are working with realizing they're a mystic and being overwhelmed by that, being overwhelmed by their sensitivities and maybe not having support. They might be like, because people listen all over the place. I have listeners in Ireland, Portugal, Shanghai, and they don't have that support system that I might be getting in Portland, Oregon, where everybody's like, yeah, it's all good, right? So what kind of how did you, because your family wasn't full of mystics, how did you get support yourself or get support around the fact that you sense something deeper and were sensitive?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I was kind of a bit alone in all of that at first. It didn't seem to bother me because I was so fascinated with it anyway. And if nobody else is interested, well, so be it.
Yeah.
But I think there was a bit more of a support through my relationships with men. I've had 2 relationships in the 20s, and both were into mystical sort of stuff. And I think that was very, very helpful. And I started to go to actually a bakery that had built little rooms down in the basement for readers, and that was a bit of a good support measure for me as well. And so I was getting on the Clark Street train and going there maybe once or twice a week. I had other jobs. I was working in cable and doing other jobs, and that started me professionally at like $4 a palm way back then. And then it just sort of increased over time. And so they were very supportive. And so that helped. And then I went to psychic fairs. And that's when I realized, oh my God, there's a lot of other people that are doing something just similar. I remember getting an epiphany as I was walking through, like in a daze, like deja vu or something. I don't know. It was like that had a feeling this was going to be a part of my life for a little while, which it was. 2, 3, 4 times a year, I would go traveling to different fairs. Been to Rochester, been to other parts of New York, throughout Toronto, even to Montreal. Once to Vancouver. So I was doing a bit of the fair circuit, but after a while I got tired of that and burnt out from that. But those were my support measures. And yeah, my family wasn't interested, and okay, that's fine. But I did get their palm prints. But yeah, some people are just not interested in that sort of thing, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Right?
it is
I'm
okay.
not interested in trying to convince anybody. If you're a doubting Thomas, that's fine. Sometimes people come to me and say, "Look, I've been asked to get a reading by you. I want to tell you right now, I'm not really interested in this. I don't believe in this kind of stuff." And I said, "Well, that's okay. All I can ask you is if you want a reading. If you're going against your will, it's pointless."
Yeah.
But if you're curious enough to just have a reading, then I'd be happy to do one. And by the end of the reading, they're converted, kind of thing.
Yes.
And there are some people I can't read. I've had
Yeah.
to try a couple times, people. I've been 10 minutes into it, 15 minutes, and I just know there's one block after another. I'm not accurate either. I say something, then they okay, it's not happening. It's not happening. We're going to stop it right now. And I would explain to them that it's me or it's something to do with the angels between us. We can't be reading today. It's got nothing to do with me, because they might get scared. They, oh God, did you see something? And I'd say, no, it's not anything that I foresee that is negative. Right? It's just I can't read you, and
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'll recommend you so. That
Yes.
kind of thing. So I've learned to do that, but because sometimes it doesn't happen very often, but at least once or twice a year, once a year, I'll have a person like that where I just can't read them.
Yeah. Sometimes when I was reading more often, people would come to me. Occasionally, people would come to me and they would want me to prove to them that psychic ability was real. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not the reader for that.
Yeah.
I'm not the reader to prove to you psychic ability is real. I'm psychic, and I'm going to read you. I'm not going to just tell you about yourself and leave you go, here's your personality and go home. I'm actually going to give you information. And when you get that information, you may or may not like it. And so that's what you're going to get, not the proof that I'm psychic. I don't really care to prove to anybody that I'm psychic. So if there are some readers, that's their job. Their job is to, I think those sort of TV psychics, their job is to prove psychic ability is real. Here, let me prove it to you. And so people are used to that. But you just gotta decide. One of the things you got to decide is, if you're going to do readings, is what kind of reader you are and what you provide, and let people know that up front.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes it's a little risky with new clients that have never been to before. But it's at this point of my reading life, I really do enjoy reading new people a lot.
Yeah.
I get a lot of regular clientele that come back year after year, but I also get new clients as well, so that helps to broaden the client base. And I'm finding it's very refreshing to read them. I don't feel like, oh, I have to try to prove something to them because it's time, kind of thing. I just start and I go into it. Yeah.
So for people who are new to the idea of palmistry, what is Can you describe for you? I don't really care about anybody else's view about it, but for you, what is palmistry and what draws you to it?
Yeah. I think I must have had a past life in it or something, because I started so young with palmistry.
You had so much confidence. The thing about you is, because when you talk about, oh my God, I really didn't have anybody, my family, like I had you. You know what I mean? I know this is news to you. Whatever I tell you, you're like, really? I'm like, I had you. I was a psychic and I had no one, but I had you. You lived on the same street as me, and you got it. You and also Michelle Bisson. You remember her?
Yeah,
Lori Bisson's older sister. She left before I came, I think, but she's psychic. And so between you two slightly older women, it was really helpful.
Yes.
But you had enormous amount of confidence in you, and that gave me confidence in you and also myself. And so, yes, sorry, I interrupted you. It was past life. Go on.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Palmistry is basically the study of your hands and your lines to determine character traits, and life events. Is it a predictive tool? To some degree, it is. Absolutely. I can look into the hands and I can see things coming. And it's basically like a camera snapshot as of today, because the thing is, lines do change. They're not etched in stone. Some lines change slower than other lines. Some lines, so what you see is a snapshot as of the moment. But 5 years down the road, some of those lines could have changed depending on other circumstances, unforeseen things that come into play, decisions that you decide to make, altered roads. So you can never predict with 100% accuracy. That would be like saying a person has no power over their destiny.
Right.
So all you can do is you can sort of kind of give an indication as this is what seems to be heading up and down the road. Is it going to be the same? Is it just going to just going along your merry way? Is it going to be a big transition coming up for you? What does that transition look like? Is it health? Is it an event? See, one of the hardest things about the lines is trying to determine whether what you're seeing is the line and the configuration of the lines. Is it a characteristic trait? Is it a health prognosis? Or is it an event? And sometimes it can be all of them. Okay. Sometimes it can be woven in together. Sometimes it's one of two things. But that's what you do is you look at they're like highways on a road map. They intersect. There's big open spaces. There's broken lines. There's triple lines. I look at them like highways on a road map.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fascinating. Is there any reason you think that palms are the particular place on the body that expresses some kind of expresses all that what you just described? Why palms? Do you have any theories about that as opposed to
No, it's a very good point. First of all, our palms take up 1/5 of our brain activity. Okay, because there's so much. There's so many nerve endings that go into the palms. We do so many things with our hands. It takes up a good lion's share of our brain. So it's tied in with our nervous system in some way.
Okay.
Now, other parts, there are people who can read other parts of the body, like people who can read eyes, or people who can read the bottom of the feet, or you could probably do anything. You can read on a tortoise shell.
Right.
I think symbols and energies is all around us all the time. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I read auras, for instance.
Yeah.
I see people's auras. So I look at them and I go, what's going on with that color? And that thing's going there. And then they've got a thing here. And that's one of the things that I'll read.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's something I don't have a talent for.
Yeah. It's a little distracting. Like one time I told this cute story. My friend said to me, so you see colors? I go, yeah, I see them all the time. And she said, well, what do they all mean? And I go, listen, you know what I'm going to do throughout this party? We're at a party. Throughout this party, I'm going to tell you every time I see something. I'm just going to tell you what I go through. So about every 3 minutes, I'd be like, there's a blue thing that's waving across your face. Oh, they have a red flare. This and this is. I said, see, it's annoying, right? I mean, it's annoying for me to say it out loud to you. I see it so often that I just dismiss a lot of it in social settings because unless it's really strong and I go, hey, your hand seems to be illuminating a lot of green light right now. I wonder what's going on with you. Then the person goes, what? But the hands are very lit up. Or on an aura, if somebody's going to send energy, if something's going to be sent from them, it's going to come from their hands. It's going to come from their head, their crown, or their heart, mostly.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, very interesting.
The lights shoot from.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, yeah, and you bring up a bit of a point that I wanted to mention earlier. Sometimes we just have to shut things off because in order to live in this world, it can be draining. It's just too much. Same thing with palmistry. As soon as I do a palm reading with somebody, I say goodbye, and I don't hardly remember the reading. It's done.
Yeah.
I shut off. That's why I've been able to probably continue to do, let's say at a fair, when you're doing 20 a day, how do you blend one into the other, right? You just got to shut off, get into your mindset, take another deep breathe, next person, and start the reading. And I just let them go. I don't hang on. This is impossible.
I have this weird little thing where if I see person one more than once, it ends up being a little file drawer, and then I just put it in the file drawer and the file drawer closes. And when they come back, I go, wait a minute, I'm trying to remember. And then I pull the file drawer out and I go, wait a minute, this thing happened and that thing happened and this thing. I get all the psychic information again from the previous reading. Not perfectly, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and another thing too is I do like to write down some things nowadays. I've been doing that for a few years. So-and-so is married, has 2 kids, looking to her career change. I do after the reading, even though I've been telling them that already to start off with, but I want to remember something so that when they do come back, oh yeah, it's like a doctor going to a doctor, taking out your file. And I think that's what you're kind of saying. looking at the patient file. Okay.
Yeah.
So, because and then you can say, well, so what happened with that?
Yeah.
And then you can
exactly.
continue on for providing a fresh reading.
So we're going to talk more about numerology in a bit, where we parse that out. What is the tool of numerology and how does it work? Because you're also a numerologist.
Yes.
But when we're talking about palm reading, could you tell us a little bit about how it works?
Okay. If you want to draw up that chart that we
Yeah.
talked about,
We got pictures. So those of you who are listening and not looking at the Zoom chat, you can just go to the website and we'll have the pictures that I'm drawing up now will be posted and labeled. So go ahead and, okay, here, first of all, what I want to do is, here is, first thing that I'm going to show you all is just how to get in touch with Ursula, because you are an active reader now. And if people are interested in, oh my God, I don't know if I could recommend a reader more highly than I would recommend you, as a person who's been reading my whole life. You've always been there at the moments I needed you. So getting hold of her at Readings by Ursula at, everybody who's not in Canada, wait for it, at Shaw, SHAW.ca. That's a Canadian address.
Yep.
And you can do phone consultations, so people can call you if they're in overseas or wherever in another country, or go to her website, and we'll show you this again later. Readings by Ursula, URSULA, readingsbyursula.com, and you'll find her webpage. Okay, now Ursula, do you want me to show that palm first?
Yeah, just that little chart of a hand.
That one? Okay. So now we're showing you a picture, for those of you listening and not looking, we're showing a picture of a hand. And like I say, go to AskPomegranate.com and you can draw this picture up and have a look at it and follow it as she speaks about it.
Right. So here we have, it's an old chart, as you can tell. It was probably done back in the early 1900s. I think probably by Cairo, actually. He was one of the more famous palmists around the turn of the 1900s. There's most people have some of these basic lines. So around the thumb, there's going to be an arch curve, and that's normally called the lifeline.
Okay.
So it is one of the most important lines in the hand. This lifeline goes around the thumb. Now, sometimes it breaks, sometimes it veers off into the center of the hand. There's a lot of things that you can look at and study from the lifeline. Any upward lines that come off that lifeline says something. And it starts in the beginning between the forefinger and the thumb. The beginning is birth, and as it goes around to the bottom of the bracelets, at the bottom of the hand is the point of death, so to speak.
Okay, so if you're not looking at the picture, y'all, it's basically the third big line down from your fingers, and it starts between your index finger and your thumb, and it's the third line down, and it curves it'll curve all the way around and go around your thumb and possibly go to your wrist, or depending on who you are, what's going on.
Yeah, that's right, and it's usually curved. Okay.
And it's a nice curve,
like an arc. Yeah.
Everybody's looking at their thumbs right now, at their hands right now, which is great. Okay, and if you're watching, it's this line right here.
Yeah, that's right.
This is now, if you're listening, it's going to be posted on YouTube. This is, you want the visuals, okay? Okay, go ahead, Ursula.
There's a lot of misconception about this line, that if there's a break, it means death, or if it's a short lifeline, it means a short life. And that's not really necessarily true. It depends on other factors in the hand. And that's another thing. We don't just want to isolate one line and determine an outcome of something. It needs to be coming from several different areas in the hand that all kind of point to something. Now, before I say something about short lifelines, I never, and as a professional reader, one should never, ever predict a person's point of death. Yes,
I agree.
Even with people who are really into this, like Ursula, tell me, how long am I going to live? I cannot determine that.
No. It's actually up to you if you're in it when you're going to die, not anybody else.
Yeah. And also, I could be wrong. now I've worried this person unnecessarily over all these years. So it's just not professional. I have been able to predict quietly to myself people's points of death. I'll look at the hands, 55, somewhere around there, and sure enough, the person passes at 55. Okay, yes, I have that ability, and I don't really like it actually, but this many times that I really wouldn't know. But what I can say to them, I could say, okay, you have a very large lifeline. The chances are that you're going to live to be old. I will say the good news, something like that. But the chances are you're going to live a long life. Is there long life and longevity in your family? And oftentimes they will say, yeah, there is. And I said, well, you've got those genes. Okay. But who knows? A person could get killed by a Mack truck tomorrow in an accident, right? So you could have a wonderful, wonderful lifeline. It just means that you've got generally vibrant health, high activity, and that the potential is there for you to live a long life. Whereas a person with a short life, the potential is to not live as long of a life. But I met a lady one time, her lifeline was only halfway down the chart. You know, it was like very short, like early 30s, something like that. And she was in an abusive relationship. And eventually she fled that relationship, left the child with that husband, and she made support payments, and she started out a whole new life. And about 6 or 7 years later, I took prints of her again. Her lifeline grew 2 inches. So, in fact, she is so healthy. She's healthier than most people are her age. She's in her 60s now, and going strong. So, you know, this is why you should not. What you can do is you can maybe do it as a warning. You could say, I wouldn't say, oh, you got a short lifeline. I would just say, according to your lifeline, okay, you have some vulnerability, maybe in your health, or there's something in your circumstances that's draining your energy, and you need to look at it. And I'll talk about it from that angle. I'll give, in other words, constructive advice as opposed to an ultimatum, you know, that as if they don't have any power over their lives. But there's an example.
Because you do. You can change it.
Absolutely.
You can definitely see your hands. If you, like, over my lifetime, because of you, I've been looking at my hands the whole time, and definitely I lost. There was supposed to be a third husband, and I lost the third spouse. They went out the door, and I'm keeping the second one.
Yeah, interesting.
For instance, right?
Yeah.
People are going to want to know where the spouse lines are. Maybe we'll get to that, but go on.
Okay. Yeah. So now what is helpful to a lifeline, a lot of people have bits of it. I haven't, a lot of people do, but not usually as strong as it's showing in this chart, is the next inner curved line called the line of Mars, closer to the thumb, just behind the lifeline. Yes, line of Mars. That's a secondary backup line. And a lot of people do have bits of it. When you have that, you've got extra energy, extra immunity, even a better chance to live long. Because when I've looked at people's hands that are 100 years old, they either have a fantastic lifeline, or even if they have a messed up lifeline, some of them do, they'll have a good backup Mars line. So that does help, you know, in terms of longevity. But that line of Mars gives a person extra energy, extra immunity. It's sort of like, you know, the big, you know, party at the battering, using the battering ram at the castle moat, and they get through, but now there's a gate. Okay. So you would rarely get sick. Other people get colds and you won't. Or if you do get sick, you heal really quickly. You can also be your own self-diagnostic. You can actually tell yourself what's wrong with your body when you've got this line. It's an interesting line. Traditionally, the line of Mars was the adage, lucky in love, but not in, no, lucky with money, but not in love. Because line of Mars is fighter energy, right?
Right.
So sometimes people with a line of Mars can get really frustrated really easily, or maybe they do have a bit of an angry issue they have to deal with. Or a little bit of feistiness sometimes, you know, that comes across a little bit with the line of Mars. Or they may have been involved with a relationship that was an angry person, you know. So there's other kinds of sort of parts of it that come to the line of Mars. Now, you were mentioning about marriage. I wrote the word marriage right on the chart here.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Now, actually, there are 3 areas to determine marriage, not just this one. This is the most common area. But this isn't always accurate. All this does is show the potential for how many marriages you're going to have. But it doesn't tell you really when it's going to happen, or it actually needs to be supported by two other locations of the hand to be really classified clearly as a marriage.
Okay, so the first, let's just describe where this is.
Okay.
The first one that we're looking at now is on the baby finger. It's on
Yes,
at the below the baby finger.
Under the baby finger, horizontal, short little line before you hit the heart line.
Okay. So that heart line is very top, long line in your palm.
Top, yeah.
And between the end of your baby finger, the base of your baby finger, and that line are some lines. And that's the lines that indicate.
Okay. Yeah, the lines of relationship. And it can maybe turn your palm a little bit, towards you so you can actually see them. They're usually short, like an inch long, half an inch long. They're usually not very long. Okay. And if there's only one line and I only look at the colored ones. I don't worry about little fine hairline things. They have to be really deeply colored. If there's only one deep line there, the chances are that you will have one marriage, not more than one marriage. So in other words, if your spouse should die or if you both should separate, you likely will not remarry again. If there's two horizontal, one above the other, equal in measure, equal in strength, then you would be the other way. You would be, if you did separate, you likely will have another relationship. Okay.
And can I ask, is it too early to ask this question about left hand, right hand, predominant hand, secondary hand? Or is what's the difference? Because I noticed, like, for instance, when I'm looking at my less predominant hand, my lifeline is considerably shorter, and then it's a real long in my predominant hand. So and I have 3 marriages on the other one, and now I see that I've reduced down to 1 because the first husband has completely faded away. So
yes, yeah,
and
exactly.
I have a 35-year-old marriage. So what's the difference between those two hands?
Your left hand, your non-dominant hand tends to be your backup support to your dominant hand.
Okay.
The old adage is your past is in your left hand and your future is in your right hand, but that's not true necessarily because we use both our hands. Okay, in everything that we do. You can't cut and dry it like that, where just your past is in your left hand and just your future is in your right hand. So they're a little bit of a blend. So first of all, if you're left-handed, then your left hand is your dominant one, by the way. Then your right hand will be the non-dominant. Okay?
Okay.
So most people are right hand dominant, so the left tends to be the non-dominant. What the non-dominant does is it does kind of talk about what you left behind. Okay, it's sort of like the potential, it's how it started. If something is in there, but it's no longer in the dominant hand, it means the circumstance has changed. So if you have a shorter lifeline in your non-dominant hand, but now your dominant hand is showing a longer lifeline,
yes,
that's a very good sign, okay? Because that's an indication that you started off with not its best of energies that you had. There might have been something years earlier at the time of the break that arrested your development at that time, or was a potential point of exit. And I do believe that. I believe that sometimes we have several exits points in our lives and we don't choose them and we have a near-death experience or an exit. And then, but we continue on. So it means that you have improved your circumstances in your life. So now that you've got this great bigger line now, if it's reversed and your non-dominant hand has an excellent lifeline, but your dominant hand is shortened, it's the opposite. It means that you're doing something that is compromising your health or compromising your lifestyle. Okay. And that can still change. Like I said, both lines can change anyway. But that's what's showing. It could also indicate too that maybe what you had years and years ago, you've lost it now. You no longer have it. It could be a break in a career. It could have been a person who was high on life and was wealthy and did very well, and then everything crashes. Okay, and so now, so the dominant hand is showing that is lost. So something is lost.
Okay.
And we could just look at that. Yeah.
Let's go back to that question of the other two spots for marriage, because you've got the one between the base of the pinky and
Yeah. So that's just the basic common area. The other area isn't actually showing up here very well, unfortunately.
Okay.
But see this long line of destiny, the vertical strong line going to the middle finger?
Right through
Long line.
there.
Yeah. Now, most people don't have a line that usually just goes straight up. This is just a classic form, right?
Okay.
A simplified form. Often people have breaks in this line, but whatever line is coming from the bottom of your hand by the wrists that winds its way up to the middle finger, it's called the line of destiny or Saturn line of Saturn.
Okay.
And usually there will be a diagonal line coming from the percussion side of the hand, not the thumb side, but the same side as the marriage line. A diagonal line that kind of joins up into the destiny line, like a diagonal. And I don't have it here, unfortunately. That at that point of junction, oftentimes it's the beginning of a serious relationship. So I like to look at those.
How does that, when you're reading time on a palm, is it where does it go from the wrist? Is zero age zero the wrist, or is zero the place between your, which end is beginning and which end is the end?
So for the headline and lifeline, it's zero between the thumb and forefinger.
Okay, so you're traveling along down towards
outward,
here. Okay, and then what about the destiny line?
The destiny line or the line of sun, the vertical line. All vertical lines start from the wrist.
Okay, so that's zero on up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it winds its way up to the finger, to the mounts of the finger, underneath the finger.
That's interesting.
Now, I've been kind of exploring the other way around, and sometimes it also makes sense. I've decided to play with myself with that, like thinking, what if it is the opposite? It actually starts at the top birth and goes down to the bottom.
Yeah.
After all, lines are formed by nerve endings, which could come through the tops of the fingers going down, or could it be coming through the wrist and up, right? So it's a bit of a theory. I'm working with the theory of whether it could actually be both, and could be read a little bit differently. But it's just a theory right now. I haven't made a definite decision on that yet. Yeah. So all vertical lines usually at the moment, just comfortably, I do find is accurate, starts from the wrist.
Okay.
So the third area, so a diagonal line that joins the destiny line, and usually it happens below the headline, that central line that we've got going across the hand. And it's usually, it's usually below that line when that happens, because most people usually do meet their subsequent partner before 35, 40, right? And the other area for marriage is off the lifeline. If you have, this is very hard to describe. If you have an upward line going off your lifeline, just a little vertical line shooting up like a stalk, coming off the lifeline towards Saturn, or towards the middle or the forefinger, and another crossover line at the same time going off the lifeline into the center of the palm on its way to the marriage line, that will be your point of marriage too. Okay, so 3 different areas to look for marriage, and also the quality of the heart line. Okay, because the quality of the heart line can say a lot about whether a person will even engage in relationships or not, or how often, or this sort of thing. So it's not.
And
just
the heart line is the first of the big strong lines near the base of the fingers that goes horizontally across the palm.
Yeah.
So it goes heart, head, life.
That's right. Yeah. And there is something called line of light, health, or Mercury line. And if you look further down the chart,
I see it on the drawing. Line. It's sort of a big diagonal at the base of your.
Yeah, it's a diagonal.
Does it go from the marriage to the base of the thumb? Or the wrist almost.
It actually goes normally higher, right up into the baby finger. It's a poor line the way they got that. I've never seen anybody have this kind of line actually.
Okay. Okay.
But it's usually a diagonal line that kind of starts from underneath the baby finger.
Yeah.
And diagonally kind of winds its way towards the lifeline.
And what's that one all about?
Yeah, it's an interesting line, and the verdict isn't out on this. I keep changing my mind about this over the years. It used to say that it was something to do with your digestion. So if you have a fairly good solid line, it means that you have a good digestion and are reasonably robust in health. If it's cut up and broken into pieces, you have poor digestion and maybe poorer health. But I have discovered that's not necessarily true. What I'm thinking is, yes, it can be the line of health, but I think it's more the line of Mercury. Mercury is the messenger god, right? That brings down communications. If when you see an active Mercury line in a person's hand, and the stronger it is, the better communicator they are, the more talkative they are. People who don't have much of a Mercury line or line of health, they're not as talkative.
Okay.
But if you see a line there and it's present, it's fairly strong, then you know that person is a communicator, is a talkative person, a good salesman, can sell ice to an Eskimo. They're usually into writing, all sorts of forms of communication, rather than the line of health. Because to me, health is everywhere in the hand.
Right.
Parts of the lifeline, parts of the Mars line, parts of the fate line, parts of the heart line, parts of the head line. Health is kind of everywhere. I think I would like to rewrite the books and not call this the line of health, but call it the line of Mercury.
Cool.
Yeah, it goes to the baby finger, which has to do with your sexual maturity, your level of maturity, and there's a lot that can be said about the little pinky. You know, even though it's the littlest of the fingers, it's very telling in lots of ways. You know, and how it communicates subtle energies. So I think it's more to do with communication line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'd also like to mention that you have written a guidebook that people could get from you directly. I think you're selling it for $30. You get a download of all your materials. I don't know if you still have that available.
Oh,
but
yes, I do.
If people are interested in that, you can also contact Ursula at readingsbyursula.com, and she'll get back to you, and you can get that book from her, that download, which has an expert palmist take on how to understand and learn palmistry.
Full of illustration, step-by-step guide is what it's called. I used to teach it in courses. And I have it in a black and white form and in a color form.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you really are getting intrigued by this and you want to hear from someone who has got lots of time under their belt learning it and teaching it, you might want to contact Ursula and get that for about $30, you say, American.
Here's a great way to support me in my efforts. You can go to patreon.com/AskPomegranate. That's all one word. If you want to get behind all the work I'm doing, it would be really helpful.
520-222-9922. Listen, if you want to call me and leave a question for Ursula, I'll get her back on and get her to answer the questions if she's willing to. Sometime by the end of the year, I'll get her back on. If you have questions about numerology or palmistry or being a reader for Ursula, I'll get her back on and see if I can get her back on. I've kind of got her trapped now. She has to kind of say yes. But I'm sure she has boundaries because, So in any case, if you want to get in touch with Ursula, you can go to readingsbyursula@shaw.ca. That's the email address, shaw@.ca. And you could get to her through her website, readingsbyursula.com. And those of you who want to get in touch with her and get a reading or get her book, and she will download it to you that she very carefully wrote. Okay, Ursula, here is the next illustration. Now, for those of you listening, this is an illustration of two hands interwoven together with palms down.
Yeah,
So
like a hand clasping. Mhm.
Yeah, tell us about this, Ursula.
When you're clasping your hands. This is going back to the idea of the left and right. People often wonder, okay, well, sometimes we're ambidextrous. Or sometimes we are a little bit of both. Like maybe we do something with the right hand, but we do other things with the left hand. So which one is actually the more dominant hand, right? And a very fun way to determine that is to take your hands and clasp them together with, now which thumb is on the outside?
Oh,
If it is the right thumb, if it's the right thumb that's on the outside, you're most likely right hand dominant. If it's the left thumb that's sitting on the outside, you're most likely left-handed dominant. And a fun way to do it is to reverse it in your own hands. Just take them and just sort of kind of, like hands clasped like this.
mm-hmm.
Reverse it so that you don't do it that you don't normally do, and see how you feel. And it
That's
feels
awkward.
funny. It feels weird. It feels awkward, doesn't it? But it's no,
awkward.
I'd rather do this. Right?
I'm left hand dominant. I'm confused.
So so that's very interesting. If you've got that left thumb is out,
Mm-hmm.
but you're right hand dominant, right?
Well, I'm ambidextrous actually. I paint with both the left and the right hand.
Okay, so then that's why you've got a little bit of that left.
Okay.
See, so in a case like yourself, I would read both your palms equally. Okay. They're both give an equal story anyway. But I would say, okay, I'm going to pull a little bit from this as to be accurate, and a bit from this and be accurate, because you're utilizing a little bit of both. You're a little bit more complex,
Okay. I know.
Another way to determine whether you're right or left hand or right dominant is a fun little thing. I call it the power eye.
Okay.
So you would take your thumb and just pick any spot on the wall from a little bit of distance. It could be a light switch. It could be just something small like that. And put your keep your both eyes open, and put your thumb on that light switch right in front of you. So it's kind of blanked out. And then close one eye. If the thumb is sitting still on the light switch, that's your left eye dominant. That's your dominant eye. If the thumb has switched over by half an inch either way, that's your weak eye. So you can determine your power eye. So so you sort of like kind of close one eye and then you close the other eye. You'll see one of them, the thumb stays on the switch. That's your power eye.
I've done it twice. The first time it was left, and the second time was right. So ambidextrous.
Oh, there you go. That's amazing. That doesn't happen to me or anybody else I know. That's really interesting. Yeah. So it kind of because one of them it'll jump over. It won't.
Yeah, it's off, and the other ones it's on. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So so you try to because you want a person, because sometimes people say I'm not really sure if I'm right or left-handed. Another thing I ask is, which hand do you throw a ball? And that's usually their strong arm. Right?
Okay.
Or if you were hanging from a rope off a mountain, which hand would you use? So you kind of ask, feel different questions like that to determine the right and left. So that was the purpose of that illustration. Thank you.
Okay. What do you think about? You want to talk more about now the numerology?
I'd like that. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to be back on camera. And so, let's talk about numerology, which is a whole separate way of understanding the world through understanding the mystery, melding the mundane into the mystery. What, by your definition, what is numerology?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was sort of for first, it wasn't. The word numerology has only been coined in the last 100 years.
Really?
So even though numbers and the mystery of numbers goes back thousands of years, particularly to Pythagoras, who was a mathematician and a mystic.
Yeah.
And he developed what they call the golden triangle, and he did a lot of very interesting things with numbers because he felt that numbers was everything. Numbers was one of the cornerstones of life, which it is.
He was a number junkie. I
He was.
myself, I have gotten into the number junkie stuff, and it's a little bit like a drug once you start going. I warn everybody who's listening, next thing you know, you're going to be doing all the numbers for everything, which is great. Do it. Go ahead and do
After
the
all, you go
numbers.
crazy and say, "Oh, I can't do this." I get,
I just like, whatever. It's okay. The address can stay that address. I don't have to move.
I know. There's so much to numbers. It's just.
I have some quick fixes for bad numbers and addresses. By the way, I'll throw in here at some point.
Do tell me.
Yes. You don't have to move. You don't have to move because you have a bad address.
Okay, I'd like that. I'd like to hear about that.
Okay.
I guess what Chinese call in Feng Shui cures.
Yes.
Yeah, they call it cures. For certain things that you've got, misplaced in your room or whatever, and it's creating bad energy. So numbers, it's a study of your numbers taken from your name and birth date. So your name has alphabets, and each of these alphabets has a number attributed to it. So it goes from 1 to 9, and then back to 1 to 9, 1 to 9. You've got 26 letters in the English alphabet.
So the numbers that are important in numerology are the numbers 1 through 9.
Yeah.
It's also, is there some schools of thought where 10 and 11 are also important?
Yeah, there's some double numbers as well. 10 is important, 11 is, 22, 33, all the doubles, 44, 55.
But like 17 is not, because what you do with 17 is reduce it down to, you add it together.
You add it together, 1 and 7, 8. Yeah.
So for instance, okay.
Yeah.
So the important numbers are basically 1 through 9, and then a few other ones like
double
10, and then 11, 22, 33, 44. Those have significant energies to them. Okay.
Yeah, and then some of these numerology books who have been been around for quite some time, they claim there's karmic numbers which are 14, 16, and 19. Especially if it's your day number. If you're born on the 14th, 16th, or 19th, it has something to do with various different karmic elements in your past that you're trying to sort out or get through in this life. It might have to do with control issues, substance issues, certain negative forces and stuff like that. And I haven't been able to really actually confirm that.
Yeah.
But there are some books that talk about that, which is kind of interesting. But what I do with numbers, I add up all your vowels in your name. First of all, I take the original birth certificate name because that's your umbrella vibration throughout your life. So it has an energy with you.
So if you take the alphabet and you assign each letter and vowel in the alphabet 1, 2, like A, 1, B, 2,
2, 3, C, yep.
And then you get up to J, which is 10, right?
It'll be 1 again, back to 1
that
again.
becomes 1 again. And then you do that again until you have all of the letters. And there's charts like this on the internet. All of the letters assigned a number, which is going to be 1 through 9, right?
Through 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
to get the basic idea. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I is 9, and then J is back to 1 again. K is 2, L is 3, M is 4, and then back to 1 again. And then, it goes through, I think, 2, 3, almost 3 rotations, because 9 times 3 is 27, but we've got 26 letters. So
and I'll put a picture. I'll put a picture of this up on the webpage at AskPomegranate.
That would be actually lovely, and I should have probably put one together, and I didn't.
That's all right.
Yes. So what you do is you would. So I also do the regular name as well. I do the original name, and I do a regular name, because your regular personal day-to-day name, or your common name, is also a vibration, because you're using it as well. And
sort of the name you get called as opposed to the name you were named.
Your official day-to-day name, like maybe what's on your passport. Think what's on your passport, what's on your driver's license, could be different than your original name, right? Especially for women, when they marry, they change their name. So there's another set of numbers that come out of that.
Right.
People who get adopted, I'd like to have their original name if they know it. That would be helpful. Plus their adopted name. So I divide them like most numerologists do. And after this, that's where I and numerologists depart. I have my own system.
Okay.
I'd like to
Yeah,
eventually.
I know. And it's cool. It's a very cool system. And I've done numerology for a long time. And when Ursula was teaching me this one that she has, I was like, so let's hear about it.
Yeah. So traditionally, what numerologists do is they separate. It'd be like a chart like this. I have a little chart which I use to do that. They separate the vowels from the consonants. So you add up all the vowels and you add up all the consonants, and the vowels and the consonants together become your whole name number.
Okay.
So the vowels are called your soul number.
So if you figure out what number your vowels have, each one, and then you add them all up, you'll have your soul number?
You have your soul number. So let's say it all adds up to, like, you got, A, E, I, all the vowels, and it adds up to 25.
Okay.
So 25, 2 and 5 make 7.
Okay. So your soul number was
that's your base.
7.
But I also keep the 25 because that's very crucial for my system in a minute that I'll talk about.
Okay.
So I add them all up until you get a double digit.
Okay.
And then you keep the double digit and I make a stroke, and then you have the final number. So if it adds up to 32, then it'll be a 5. If it's a 17, then it will be an 8. But I keep the 17 as well. And that's your soul number. So all your vowels, which are the unpronounced parts of your name, the ah, the eh, the oo, is what we call your soul number. It's the number of emotions. It's your inner sanctum. It's who you really are, and that other people would only get to know once they got to know you. It's also kind of like your creative ability, your natural gifts, your natural ability, your natural drive, what interests you the most.
Okay.
So it's an important number.
Okay.
Then I do the same thing with the consonants. Okay, so all your consonants, which is the pronounced hard elements of a name, right? The N, the M, the B, the D. Add them all up, do the same thing. You'll come up with a double digit, and then you break it down to a single digit. Then I add the top and the bottom. So let's say the top is a 7, the consonants is an 8. 7 and 8 make 15. 1 and 5 make 6. So your whole name number is a 6.
Is this me? Are you doing my name?
I'm actually doing you right now.
Oh, okay. So 7 is my soul.
8 is your personality, outer personality number.
Okay, and I was born in the 8th month too. We have to pay attention to that. And then put them together, I'm a 6.
You're a 6. Okay. And now your regular name that you commonly use now, that was your original name, but your regular name is a different set of numbers. And sometimes we retain one of those numbers. I don't know why, but for some reason we often retain sometimes 2 of those same original numbers, but there'll be always one that'll be different. In this case, the soul is an 11, 2. Your constant is a 3, so 2 and 3 make 5. So now all of a sudden you become a 5. You've kept so you become a 5. Yeah. Which
I'm for that. I'm for the 5 because I happen to know if you agree with me, I don't know what your thing is, but 5 is freedom, fun, and adventure, right?
Yes. I have a 5-2 in my soul position, plus I'm born on the 14th, which is another 5. Okay. So
nice.
It's a big 5 in my chart. And 5 means freedom. 5 means variety. 5 means you have a lot of interests. But the really big calling card for 5 is you got to be free. You have to be free you don't want to be hampered down or controlled by people, and you're independent. You'll be a fast thinker because 5 is also Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
And it's connected with freedom and movement. It can be accident prone. You have to watch that tendency with 5s. They also could be big spenders. And the downside, so each number has a positive and negative. There's no such thing as an evil number. That's not true. I know that the Chinese, for instance, in their particular systems, they hate 4. They think number 4 is the number of death. Okay? And so they try to avoid 4s at all costs. They love eights. Eights is power.
They like it, yeah.
They
Let
like
me. Can I ask you to just go through the meaning of each number? So when people figure out their name of their soul and their,
yeah.
so you have your soul. What's the other? The other one is your.
Yeah, the soul is your inner self, your inner sanctum, and your
And
gifts,
then you have
skills,
your.
and your emotions, and the portal to past life as well.
Okay, and then the
Then you
second
got
number.
Constance
Yeah.
is personality, how you project to others.
Okay,
What
so
others see in you. Your first card that you
yeah,
give.
so everybody sees me as an 8. They really do. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't feel like an 8, but they do see me like.
There you go. Yeah, and you do. You come across powerful. You come strong, centered. Eights are they're the managers that take care of things. A lot of people who have eights in their chart like to be self-employed.
Yeah.
So you come across that way. Yeah.
I do. It's not actually what I'm like. I'm actually a really sensitive, slightly neurotic person, and an introvert.
Well, maybe you have. Yeah. Well, there's another level here that I'm not going to get into because it'll take too long. But
Okay.
So the combination of the two together brings your destiny.
And now I'm a 5. Where's my birthday? I was a 6.
6.
Oh.
So you kind of have a little bit of both energies. You got a little bit of the 6 energy in you, and you got a little bit of the 5 energy in you.
So can we just go through like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Sure.
9, just to see when people figure out their thing, they'll know what their thing is.
Sure. Okay. So if you got a 1 in your name, that's individuality, creative, independence, leadership. It's a masculine number. Number 1 is masculine, right?
Okay.
So it's personal power. It could be also self-interest. Interested in self a lot. They got to watch that too. They don't become too self-absorbed.
Yeah.
But also they're opportunists. Okay, because it's the beginning of the cycle. 1 is the get out the gate, right? It's the number 1. It's the beginning. So they are opportunists, and you also would be original. You're an original thinker somewhere in your life in some facet. Maybe not with everything, but there's going to be one area that you're going to be really, really highly original, bringing in new stuff into the world that isn't already here. So that's 1. 2 is feminine. Okay. And it's nurturing. It doesn't mean that you will not have any personal power or you're not an opportunist, but to be a bit more cautious, a bit more planner, a bit more decision maker, sensitive. You would have an allure about you that attracts and draws people to you rather than the 1 energy that goes out and gets it. Okay. So it's a different energy. 3 is kind of like the combination of both, the mother and the father. The 1 and the 2 bring a baby. 3 is childlike, enthusiastic, optimistic. It's communication, scattered energy, playful, and creative, dynamic. It's creative. The 3, 6, 9 combo are all creative numbers. 4 is creative though too, in a physical way.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 is sort of outgoing, optimistic, love of courses, love of learning, this kind of thing. 4, I have a big 4 in my chart too. 4 is like the 4 corners, like a square, like a table. It's the Rock of Gibraltar. It's stability, organized, practical thinking, the builder, wanting security and order in your life. Slow, prodding, maybe sometimes too. It takes you a long time to get things done. And because you're thorough, you want to do it right. It's also manifestation. In other words, 4s, just like 8s, both are manifestation numbers. 4s want to see results from their efforts. So, the one, let's give an example. I'll give them a dynamic. Say you want to buy a car, okay? Okay, that's number 1. Oh, you have this idea in your head. I want to buy a car. Okay, but that's not going to be enough to make it manifest, is it? You got the idea, but it's not going to suddenly appear just like that. No, number 2 comes along. 2 asks, okay, what kind of car? What are the smells of the car? What color of the car? How am I going to get this car? That kind of stuff. So the 1 is, yes, I'm going to do it. And the 2 comes behind and says, no, wait a minute. Let's just flesh this out a bit more. Now you're getting a little closer, right, to this car. But that's still not enough. You can imagine it, you can think it, you could smell it, you could feel it, you could desire it. But that's not enough. You need number 3. 3 is action. You got to. 3 is fire. So
Okay.
action. You got to get on that phone. You got to call the bank. You got to secure
Yeah,
a phone. You
make
got
the
to
connections.
You got to do the action. So you conceive it, you flesh out it. Number 2, you take action, and voila, you got number 4, manifestation. Okay. So when people are going through a personal 4 year, it sometimes can be very hard. And I say to them, I said, don't throw in the towel, just hang in there, because something is going to show up on your doorstep, during your 4 year for all the hard work that you put in the last few years. So 4 is very, very, it's like a fulcrum point in the chart. But, after 4, the drudgery, the manifestation, and, you're working away and you've done things and you got your flowers growing in your garden now. Well, then comes playful 5. 5 is about thinking outside of the box. It's like going beyond just the security of what you have, and saying, okay, what else is there in the world? 5 is an adventure. It's more freedom oriented. It's about your 5 senses. And there's 5 fingers on each hand, right? It's about going beyond the box of your security and seeking out what else is out there. Okay? And so 5 is, getting into your car and traveling, okay? That kind of thing. It's a very inventive number, and it's also the number of language. But you could get into all kinds of crazy adventures and all kinds of mucked up situations, in a 5, and then along comes 6. If you have a strong 6 in your chart, you want beauty, harmony. It's getting back to roots. 5 is rebellious, okay? But 6 is like saying, okay, let's set down our roots, taking care of our family, taking care of our community. People with a strong 6 in the chart really have some sort of a groupie thing going on in their lives. Okay, whether it's gathering their family, being a real family person that always has the weekend barbecue parties, this kind of thing, or they want to join something in the community. They want to belong somewhere. They have a sense of deep need to belong. And because you, Janet, you've got a strong 5 and a 6, you're kind of a combo. There's a part of it that couldn't give a crap about whether you belong or not, but then there's another part that does. So, you got kind of an interesting mix of that.
That's true.
Yeah. 6 is also marriage. It's about the group collective, where 5 is about individuality and self-expression. 6 is about the group collective. So if you've got a strong 6, you're a homemaker, you'll love children, you like to cook, you like your garden, you like to nurture things.
Right.
Okay. 7 is a little different, and you got a strong 7 in your chart too. Like, we all have several numbers. We don't just have one number. We come from different angles, Yeah.
Right.
7 is a very interesting number. It's a mystical number. It's the number of the mystic. It's the number of. It's a little bit of. It's about research and trying to understand the greater mystery of life. If you have a strong 7 in your chart, you may have a tendency to be a little bit at arm's length with certain people. You like your space, you like your privacy, you like to be alone. 7's an interesting magical number, and it's not understood entirely. And it shows up mathematically in our lives. We've got the 7 basic elements of science. We've got the 7 basic notes of the musical scale. We've got the 7 basic colors of the rainbow.
Right.
We got 7 days of the week. Times 4 make a month. Now it's starting to connect with the moon phases and the moon gravitational pull on Earth and on ourselves. There's something very interesting about 7s. Now,
Ursula, I have 2 friends, my best friends, 2 of my best friends, both of them are 7s. Both of them have mystery schools.
Well, isn't that wild? Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. It's just wild. 7 is of the mind. It's deeper than the 5 mind. Okay. It's 7 is of a deeper, going into a deeper level, taking it into a further depth. A lot of astronomers will have 7s in their chart. Scientists will have 7s in their chart, which are not mystics, but that's another aspect of 7.
Mhm.
7 is also a lot of people who've got strong 7 really have a very deep connection with music. But music can go everywhere in the chart. But there's usually they will at one time had played an instrument or worked with music in some particular way. But yeah, so I don't know if you have, Janet. And because you have a strong 7 in your soul, this could also come through relationships. Maybe your partner is interested in music, or you might have had a strong connection with music at one time. I don't know.
Mhm.
Would you say?
I'm married to a musician, and I'm also a mystic. So
There you go. Look at that. And it's in the right positions, in your soul position, which have to do with relationships.
okay. And then, like I have, it's these friends who are mystics, 7s. All my friends are mystic.
Plus, you also are a mystic, and you also started your own teaching and everything. You
Hmm.
have
Right.
your followers, and so yeah, 7s.
What about 8?
8 now is it's like a bit like 4. It's double 4. 4 is very earthy, right? 4 is earth. And I think 1 is kind of like air, 2 is water, and 3 is fire, and 4 is earth. And 8 is a bit like earth, only it's double the amount. And it even looks like a double 0, right? Like a double, it's like the infinity sign.
Right.
And it's a very powerful number. And people who've got an 8 in their chart really do know how to manifest things. They apply themselves. Sometimes they come through unexpected ways, in glorious, crazy ways. Sometimes, how 8s, because 8 is a number of karma.
Mm.
So people with 8s really have personal power, and they might also have issues to do with dominance or having been controlled in their lives at one time. They don't want to be controlled. And usually, if there's a strong 8 in the chart, I often ask them, have you in the past had issues to do with control issues? Okay, now this could be from a partner, it could be from a situation, it could be you doing the controlling or being controlled. So often it's rooted in family, especially if it's a birth date number, but we haven't got to the birth date yet. But yeah, the 8 has to do with personal power, personal control, success, okay? Being on top of things, being a manager, self-employed, taking care of business. It's no secret that the 800 number is the perfect number for corporations, which is big business, right? They got the 8 plus the 0 backing it up twice, so it makes 800 number an excellent number for corporations. And it's about manifestation. It's the number of athletes too. A lot of people who want to succeed in life, drive, ambition, athletic ability comes through 8s. And 9 is the last of the single digit numbers. So in a way, it comprises all of life's experiences. It's got a little bit of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in it. It's a number of endings and completion. It's part of the creative series of 3, 6s, and 9s. They're highly creative. I'm a 9. 9s like to teach, like to give advice. It's like the hermit, the 9th card of the tarot. And it's the number of wisdom, worldly wisdom. People with 9s are interested in politics and what's going on around the world. They wear their burdens on their shoulders. They care a lot about other people. They're compassionate, and they're wise. And they also can be self-studiers. They can study on their own. They don't need a university degree to become sort of like a specialist in something. It comes natural with them. Now, there's a downside to 9s, like there's a downside to all of the numbers. The downside to the 9 is arrogance. This is definitely shown in John Lennon, who has a lot of 9 energy, and there was actually a book written about it, about the number 27 that keeps popping up in his life. And he was arrogant. He was a very difficult person. Actually, he might have been a wonderful, musician. We all know that, but his personality, he disdained sometimes people. He made rude comments. He was arrogant. He beat his wife. He beat his kid. He has a downside.
I mean, Yoko Ono kicked him out for a year, not for a day, for a year. There was a reason she kicked him out for a year.
Yeah, exactly. So nines can be really, really complex, really difficult because they're mavericks. They've been around the block. They know stuff, and they take advantage of it sometimes. So they have to watch. They could be the biggest, cyber criminals, because they've been around. But yeah, nine is about also nostalgia, missing the good old days. So if you got a strong 9, you may have a tendency to be a bit like that too.
Okay, so that's the one. That's the basic numbers. Now, can we tell folks how they can calculate their birthday? Now that they know how to calculate their soul and their personality and their life. So soul is all the vowels in your name. Personality is all the consonants. You add those two, soul and personality together, you get your life number. But also, you can do this for your birthday.
Yeah, birthday's really fascinating
So
stuff.
let's get them into the birthday calculation.
Okay. The first thing what one does is you would draw up to find out what your birthday number is, your full birthday number is. So that's a combination of your month, your day number, and the year of birth.
Right.
So let's say you are June 12th, 1981.
I think I might be able to do this on, let me see if I can. If not, we'll work it out. Hang on a second. I might be able to do this, show this as you say this. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if my computer's willing, let's see if you're willing, computer. So hang on, everybody. If you will just stay with me, I will make this work. Okay, so you say June, so that's the 606 month.
Yes.
And then
12.
the day is 12. Are you seeing this up here? And the year is, what's the year?
1981.
1981. So that's not going to quite work because of the things, but you add that together as you would a normal amount.
Okay, so actually there's two different ways. There's the arithmetic way that you're doing, but actually what I've discovered is another way that's even more accurate.
Okay,
you would exactly put them all in one line, one after the other.
Okay, so
06, 1, 2, and then 1981.
Stick with me, crowd.
Perfect.
Okay.
There you got it. So you would add it up just like that. You don't take 1981 and make it into a double digit. You just leave it separate like that. You go 06, 1, 2, 1981 equals 7, 9. Okay, 7, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 19, and 8 is 27 plus 1 is 28.
28. That all adds up. 28. Then you reduce that down.
Reduce that down to a 1.
So then how that goes is 2 plus 8.
8 equals 10.
Equals 10. And then you reduce that down. Whoops.
Yeah, that'd be a 0. Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. Dyslexia is RS.
1 plus 0 equals 1. Of course.
Okay.
So there it becomes automatic. Yeah.
So there we see that this person, who is this person? Who was born this day?
I just made this up.
Okay. So this person, a known person, is a 1.
Yeah.
And that's their, what is this number then? That's their birthday number?
That's their whole birthday number, and it's their life lesson number, or what you call your challenge number. It's what you're born with. We could change our name, but we can't change our birth date.
I did that. I changed my name.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't change your birthday. It's when you were born. It's when you got locked into the grid.
Yes, and this is my birthday number. It's 1910-1. In Tarot, you use all three of those numbers.
Actually, you're right. Your birthday also breaks down to a 28-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you can. I'll just throw this in for y'all. Additionally, so that's going to be your life. Your life is going to be the 1 if you're this person. But you can, when you're calculating your birthday number, you can also do this again. So you're doing your birthday. I'm just going to throw this in, Ursula. You do your birthday, which is, I don't know why this isn't typing. Okay, very slow computer. You can do the same thing, and then every year on your birthday, you can recalculate it for that year. So
Personal
this year,
yeah.
So this year, you can have. That's going to be your year.
Your personal year, yes, after your birth month.
So whoever's birthday this is coming up on your birthday, June the 12th, 2021, this will be your new number. So you add all that together, and I don't know what that number is.
That's right.
7, 8, 9,
10, 11,
11,
14.
14. So in the long run, it'll turn out to be a 5. So then this year for this person will be a 5. So you can, dear listeners, calculate your birthday for your life, and this will be your challenge number, or you can also calculate your what your year, the tone of your year will be by doing this on your birthday, and then go back and listen to what Ursula said about all of that. I'm going to come out and share.
That's right.
Said about each number, and then you can go, oh, that's what I got this year.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to let you have a little moment. I know everybody wants to calculate their birthdays now. They want to calculate their birthday, and they want to calculate their challenge number, or what was the other?
Yeah, a challenge, and also your greater strengths. Okay, it's what you've come here to learn how to do. What you've come here, it's connected with the past life portal.
Yeah. So in my case, mine is a 1. So it's that whole, I've got an idea. Let's all put a show on in the barn. And what's your number, Ursula?
I'm a 4.
You're a 4. Okay. Yeah. So yours is going to be about that manifesting you were talking about.
About stability, trying to manifest things, to finish what I start.
Okay, everybody, let's take a little break to give you a moment to calculate all of that. And then we'll come back with Ursula Dyck that you can find on the internet, readingsbyursula.com.
Five 20222 9922 9922. You can ask Pomegranate. You can ask Pomegranate. She's a priestess.
Okay, welcome back, Ursula Dyck, the fabulous numerologist. Listen, y'all, you know what you're going to do? You got to call her up or email her, get on her webpage, and go get yourself a reading, because it will be good. You'll get the numerology. She's got this whole bunch of stuff about game changers she's going to tell us about now. But go to her, get the book, get the readings. This is a trustworthy person, clairvoyant, who knows what they're talking about and has been doing it a long time and was born to do this. So I will again tell you that all that stuff, and you can go to the website and go get direct links to her. And Ursula, now we've heard so much about palmistry and numerology. What do we need to know about our birth and our number? How does this affect us? What do we do? What is this about? How does this affect us?
The birthday is very interesting. The month, the day, and the year can be broken down and given lots of very interesting game changer information. And game changer years, first of all, when I do numerology, I start from birth month to next year's birth month. I don't go from January to December. There's 2 schools of thought with numerologists. Most of them do January to December. And I'm part of the school of people that say, no, it's from birth month to birth month.
Me
Now,
too.
however, January is often a very significant time of the year for people. A lot of changes happen in the beginning of the year. But what I discovered is whatever that personal number they have for that year, it starts to be felt closer to their own birth month. You might start to trigger it a little bit in the beginning of the year, but as you move along into the year, whether it's May or they're December, they might have to wait the whole year. That's when it really gets felt. That's when it starts to really make sense to them for that particular number, whatever number they're in. So yeah, birth months to birth months. Your day number is one of the game changer numbers. Now in numerology, they say significant years of events happen about every 5 and 4 years or every 9 years. And I've got that written on the website. And yes, I look at all those significant years and I think, yeah, they're all very significant. But game changer is something I discovered. I've only been able to isolate about a half a dozen or so game changer years in a person's life, maybe a dozen. They're like the big kahunas, you know. They're tied in with a one-time event that happens in that year that sets the pace for years to come in your life. It develops your character. It alters your destiny, and you know they're the big things like getting married, or meeting someone, moving to another country, going to university, starting your career, or a death. You know, it can be a death in the family, that kind of thing, or something that just altered your life in some particular way. Okay, those are like kind of like the game changer years. And when I look at my own chart, I think about my own life and say, geez, that year and that year and that year wasn't in my chart, but they were really big for me. They were like game changers as far as I was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that were in my chart were all game changers. Okay, do you see what I mean? So you could find your own game changers, and they'd still, of course, apply to your own personal life. It's a rule of thumb here that I've got. So one of the game changer years is your day number. So everybody's got one up to 31 because there's only 31 days in a month, right? But believe it or not, it's just amazing. That particular number, age, becomes an age of significance for you. Something happened that year that altered your direction in some way. For instance, you're born in the 11th. Can you think of 11 as being significant in some way?
Yeah, it was that was the year I went to visit Scotland and Ireland. My aunt took me, and it just changed my whole trajectory.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. See, and the game changers also do that. They change trajectory, and it stays with you for a long time. It has something length,
still
longevity. Yeah.
It's still every day. It's still in me.
Yeah.
That trip.
Now, another way is I also look at the name at those double digits before it gets down to a final single digit. That's an age. Okay. So I look for those as well. And now your year of birth is also important. So let's say it's 1981. That would be 10, 18, would be 19, right? 1981 is a 19. So all people born in 1981 has 19 as a game changer. Okay. And your year is 18. So what happened at 18?
Well, the summer I turned 18, I went, your sister and I got on a train. We bought one-way tickets. So we took a train ride from Toronto to Vancouver, BC. And we had $500 each in our pockets and a suitcase. And we moved to Vancouver, BC.
It changed your whole life. You never moved back.
Yeah.
See, that's a game changer, right?
Yeah. So
it was significant. It was really significant.
Yeah, and I knew it from 15 that I was going to go there, and I knew I needed to live on the West Coast. And so we went. Yeah, she went with me. I was like, really, because I was saying, we're going to move to Vancouver. We're going to move to Vancouver.
Well, she's born also in 18. It was her year too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a game changer here for her. And remember that 28-1 that I told you about, your chart, your full birth date?
Yeah.
28, age 28. I know we're going back in time. We can barely remember what we ate last year.
I know what happened.
But what happened at 21? Something significant happened.
At 21?
28.
At 21, I moved to the States, and in 28, I got hitched to this Man, I love
Both 28 and 29 show up in your chart.
29. I got married, and I also got hired on as a priestess at this particular thing that used to happen, and started to launch my priestessing life professionally. So, and then
Okay.
also, I think right after that, I also shortly after that I actually went back to university and started studying painting. A
There you go.
million things happened there. Everything happened
A
then.
lot of things
That-
happen around 28,
Yep.
29, and they're game changer years for you.
Yep.
Now, you take the year of birth, which is 18 in your case, it breaks down to 18, and you add it to your day number, which is 11. So there again, it's 29. So you have it twice in your chart.
Oh.
29 in your regular name as a soul position, plus the year and day number is also a 29. So that's a double whammo for you. So there was a lot of things going on around that
Yes,
time.
it was huge. Also, my
Changed
niece.
life altogether.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, now let's go back into your original name, 25. That's 7 soul, right? 25 was big. So that would have been
25 is. I think I need Kevin.
25 was so
25, somewhere around there. I met Kevin.
87 to 88, 1987.
Yeah, that's when I started my relationship with Kevin. Right about that.
There you go. And 25 is in soul position. Remember, I said earlier that it has to do with relationships.
Yes, and I had a terrible meltdown the day I turned 25.
Isn't that really?
I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. My life has no meaning. I'm really old now, and I have no meltdown.
So when you're in your soul position in your chart, it's often when you meet somebody of significance in your life.
Yeah.
It can also be the year where you have a baby, or you meet somebody. And 25 or 29, both would have been good and significant to do with relationships. Yeah. You met him at 25 and you got married at 29. See how that's showing up in your chart?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. We're going to go a little bit closer to your age now. To 35, that 8, the big 8 in your chart. 35 was a biggie too. So that would have been 1997.
I don't remember what I did that year. Okay. I know I graduated from university. I got my degree about Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Oh, maybe that was around that time.
Around 35, 34.
Okay. So maybe that was significant for you.
Yeah. That was significant.
Yeah. And see, so whatever the events are, sometimes I will be able to tell the person what the event is. Other times I just have to ask because it's personal for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now another one is 48. I'm bringing you up here, but so
I'm sure something happened.
2000 and
so that's 10 years ago. Oh yeah, I started my own. I did a big significant piece of my own retreats. I put my own retreats. Started putting my own retreats on at 48.
Oh.
And, yeah, it was a big business. It wasn't a business move because I didn't make any money, but it was a big dream come true fruition that I then did for 10 years after that. But I started that then.
Yeah, interesting that you talked about the word fruition because it's a combination of 4 and 8, which are your manifestation numbers.
Yeah, I really manifested something I always wanted to do, and I wanted to have control and have more of a say in what happened, and I had almost all the say. And that was a big deal.
There you go. Now, I would like to tell you that you're about to go into another game-changer year. This coming summer. You're moving into it. It's your full name number. Okay?
Wow.
So it's your destiny. And it's a 660. Okay. So 6 is the 6, that number 6 is going to be a really, really significant year for you to do with community, maybe family. Might come up more in the next year. It's one of the 369 combo creative numbers. So there's going to be a creative breakthrough that's going to alter your destiny. You could be really pouring out some creative stuff in the next year. Okay.
Yes, that's the plan. Yeah. Full on creative energy.
And you only come across this once in your lifetime. Okay.
Really?
So you're hitting it now. This is going to be a game changer year for you. And it's also a number of beauty and health. You might be changing your looks a little bit. You might be altering your clothes,
Oh.
fashion, this kind of stuff. You know,
I just want to show you a little painting, everybody, that I'm working on. Ursula, if I may interrupt you. So this is, I'm working on a divination deck, the Fairy King divination deck. And this is a painting, for instance,
oh, lovely.
that I made, what I made. And this is going to be coming out sometime in the next year.
And what is the divination deck called?
It's the Fairy King divination deck.
Fairy King.
And because I'm a tarot expert, so it is in no way whatsoever based on the tarot.
Okay.
It is a totally separate divination system. So you'll not find anything in it from the tarot.
Lovely. I'd be fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. This is called the Sapphire Well, and it's one of the wells that help you enter into the magic of fairy.
So how many cards are there?
49.
49.
Yeah,
okay.
And they're almost fully painted and designed. I have 7 more to do.
So
I've
you
got
would
them
have
designed.
so you would have had to come up with a system of sorts.
Yes, it's a whole system. I know what they all mean. I know what all the cards mean. Each card means. I've been working on it for 15 or more years, and I can't really remember how long I've been working on it. And it's going to be done being painted this year. By this birthday.
I think this is why it is a game changer year for you. And it's also 6 is also about group energy. So it's definitely not the year to just be isolated and like a hermit. It's a year to get out there and connect with groups of people. Get that deck out there into several different stores. Possibly also maybe bigger publishing companies rather than just in the stores. Like actually go to a publishing company.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I will. I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do, Ursula, because you're one of the best readers I've ever had a reading from.
It's a really big year for you. And after that, it kind of spreads out a little bit. We won't have time to talk about it, but another one would be 77. Anyway, that's way down the road, but it's a big year.
That's 20 years away.
It's a double 7, so that should be really interesting.
That's about 20 years from now, but
yeah, breaks down to a 14-5. Okay, so which is your other adventure number. So something interesting will happen, possibly travel or something big or international. At that time.
International. I'll go international.
Yeah. Another thing that is fun with numerology is your game changer months. Okay, we talked a little bit about game changer years and how I grab them from the different double digits and from the birth date bits and pieces, and we're only sort of covering this lightly, but something is called game changer months, and without a doubt, it's so reliable. It's just unbelievable. People just like shake their head with me that you're so right, So there's 2 times of the year where you have game changer months. It doesn't mean other months are not important. Of course not. Okay, you could have one whopper of stuff going on in the mid-months, but like bookend dates, quite reliably every year, there's 2 phases that tend to be your game changer months where most things happen. Like other things can happen, like I said, but mostly they happen. And the first one is, of course, your birth date month. Okay, so you're in August.
Right.
But what I've noticed is it actually goes back a month, up to 6 weeks. That's your game changer periods. It's coming into your birth month, which is your imprinting part of the year. And so that is important, and it even spills into a little bit like in September. But basically, it's July, because you're early August. It's going to be almost end of June. So end of June, because 6 weeks. So end of June, all of July. That's your game changer month.
Okay.
And I call this the new moon of the year. And it's kind of like incoming news. Something happens around that time that suddenly perks you up and wakes you up because you're getting reborn. You're going into a new cycle, right?
So take your birthday and then go back 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
And that
entire 6 weeks, time.
That month before your birthday. That's one of the game changer months.
Exactly.
Okay. I just want to get people on board with what so they can calculate it for themselves. So everybody take your birthday in your mind right now, and then go back a month, and then go back 2 more weeks after that. That period of time is when the power comes in. Tell us
That's
more
when you're
about
most
what
potent.
happens.
That's when you're most potent.
Most
I call it,
potent.
yeah, I call it new moon energy. It's incoming stuff. Suddenly something comes up on your tray that all of a sudden you get really excited about. And sometimes it can also be, crap that hits the fan too.
Yeah.
But usually it's short term. Okay. But whatever tends to happen that's really coming in at that point tends to sort of augur what your year is going to be a bit like. Okay.
Okay.
It's the time to set dreams and set intentions.
Oh, just like you would do in the new moon. Okay, good.
Yeah, and then one of those is going to manifest at least. Maybe several, depending on good karma, good energy, past situations, whatever that you're working on. It could also be something new. It could be that you decide to change your mind about something, and you're off in a different direction.
Right.
You're restless too. You're restless in this time period. You're antsy. You're kind of tired in a way, but you got this restless, tired energy going on around that time before your birth month.
Okay.
So pay attention to what happens around that time, because that's what's being brought into your life.
And set your intentions. I want to give everybody a little easy way to make a spell working at that point. One of the easiest ways to set your intentions is to have a highfalutin dream. I don't know, pick anything you want. Be like, I really want to go to Paris, or I want to move, or I want to do this. And how you do that is simply say, how would it be possible for me, and then fill in the blank, for instance, to go to Paris? Or how, maybe I would say in my month, I'll say, how would it be possible for me to have a publisher for my deck? And then
I like that.
It's the how would it be possible spell. It's developed by my friend Sage Good, who I had interviewed in previous episodes. And you just say, how would it be possible for me to find a publisher for my deck? And then you just let that float in a balloon, and then you let it go. You don't think about it again. And because you want it to go out and do its work. And it's a really good spell working. It's easy as pie, and it works.
I like that.
Yeah,
because the how kind of takes it beyond I want. It's now saying it's taking the next step. And
also, if it's not the right thing, it's not in your karma, it's not in alignment, it's not the right thing, it's like the answer will come back, it's not possible, let it go. But if it is possible, it'll happen. And if it's the best thing, course of action for you, it'll just flow in, and you just don't have to do anything about it. It's a very relaxed spell.
Interesting.
So you can do that in that new moon period of the moon, or you can do that in the new moon period of your year, which is the 6 weeks before your birthday. Okay, that's fantastic news. Yeah. I always wonder what to do with that 6 weeks, because I am always really intensely doing something in June and July, very intensely.
Very much so.
So
that's your energy field. That's your time.
All right.
And then your other, and then I'll tie in the two. The other game changer period is 6 months later. So you're born in August. That would be February.
Okay.
So February 11th, you're going to go back January 11th, the very end of December, basically. January is your full moon game changer period of the year.
Oh, what do we do with the full moon?
Well, the full moon, just like a full moon, it brings things come to light. Okay. So it could be a period of an epiphany. It could be a period of closure. It could be completion. It could just stop. Something will just stop. It's done. Just stops.
Have that happen.
Or end. It could just end. It's sort of like your manifestation period. It's like you finally got your answer one way or another.
Right.
So let's say let's take a look at the dynamics of July in your case and January.
Okay.
Suppose you go into July spending your money like crazy.
Okay.
You're not paying attention. You're racking up your debts. You're racking up your credit cards. You this and that. You're buying this, and you're not paying attention. Sure enough, January comes around and you're broke. And, and it's like, stop, I got to stop. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to cut my credit card up. I'm just giving an example. This is just a crude way, but the energy is built between these 2 6-month periods, opening and ending. Suppose, let's say you start a project in July, somewhat around there. Maybe you've been working on it for quite a while, but now you're feverishly working on it in July. And it gets stalled and it gets on the back burner, but then it gets, picks up again. And voila, sure enough, by the time you hit around December, January, you've completed that project. It's done.
Yes.
Or another way of looking at it is you enter July depressed. You're just depressed. And you don't keep, track of that, and you're not, nurturing yourself. And by the time you get around to December, January, you're in a full-blown depression. And now you say, I got to go find a counselor.
Right.
So you do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be something that fulfills itself. It could just end. You could be working on some sort of home improvement, and building away in that second back room, and up and down, up and down. But you don't finish it by January, but you put a stop to it. You say, we need to get some more money. We'll start up in the spring again.
Right.
So you just stop temporarily and then pick up again.
Okay.
Because a lot of things that you do are not always in a 6-month phase. It could take years. Some things take cyclically years and years, but sure enough, it'll land in one of those two. Another thing about these two, they're typically the time period where you meet new people, meet your man, meet your wife, start a job, make a move.
Yeah.
You'll notice a lot of times, do you remember what month you moved into that house?
I think we moved in. I don't remember.
Was it the summer?
I think it was fall. It was sometime in the fall.
Okay. It could be
that
that
it doesn't match up with that.
No, it doesn't match up with that, but it could be that you started thinking of buying a house in July.
Yeah.
You might have actually got, onto with a real estate person, whatever, and started looking around.
I did. I did.
Took until fall, but you initiated.
July. No, we bought the place in September, so I absolutely only looked at 3 places, and I absolutely started in July looking for this place.
There you go. Okay. Do you remember what month you met your partner?
September 14th.
Oh, okay. So that didn't work out.
Yeah.
No, but September also is important because I said July, August, September. Okay. So actually, September is still a spillover from your August.
Yes.
On either side of the equation, right?
Yeah.
So that whole triage is actually very important.
Yeah.
So that's how you can work those energies.
Well, that's good. That's good. Then you pay attention to your own personal cycles, and you can notice them, and you can feel them coming, and you can take advantage of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you hope to manifest. So, like for instance, for me, as I come into June and July, I can really bring that focus to the cards, and then by January we'll start to see some fruition from it.
Some fruition from it. Exactly.
And either this January or the January after, it doesn't really matter. Patience is a part of letting yourself be in a part of the cyclical nature of the world. That's the whole joy of being on the planet Earth, is we get to experience cycles, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, and that's what numerology comes from, is from the Earth.
Well, the novel that I'm writing, I actually finally hit the novel. I had the idea back in December of 2017, but I actually started writing in April. And it wasn't something that I did on purpose either. It just sort of kind of flowed that way. But when I think back on it, once upon a time, that first chapter I started writing, I hit the pen and paper in April. I'd say hit and pen, but it was on computer. I started in April. See, that's my power period. That's my game changer one.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, we'll have to hear about your novel in the next interview we do with you, Ursula.
Yes.
So interesting. You'll probably be farther along with it too. And I wanted to give everybody a little tip about their address too. With your address, you can add together the numbers that appear. I don't do anything but the numbers that appear in an address. I don't do the consonants or vowels. So just take the numbers.
Yeah.
So for instance, I live on a street with a number, so I add that to the number of the street, number of the address, and that comes out to a certain number. So when if you have I'm on 48th Street, for instance, so I have the number and I add number 48 together, and I get the number. You read it down. It's Ursula's taught us, and when you get that, you'll get a number, and you can look at the number and go, what kind of number do I want to be living in? So do you want to be living in a fast, busy house at number 1? Maybe not. Maybe you don't have maybe you want to be an 8 because your business is at home. Or maybe you don't want to be in a 9 unless it really suits you to be a hermit or to be isolated and working alone with your head down and not a lot of people over. Whatever it is you look at, listen to what Ursula says about those numbers. And one of the best numbers for a living situation for serenity is actually the number 2. So if your house, it adds up to, for instance, a number 9, but you want to convert it because you don't want to be an isolated hermit type. You want to convert it to a 2. All you do is write the number somewhere on the back of the door, on the inside of the door, that helps that number become the number 2.
Interesting.
So if it's a number 9, you just write the number 2 on the back of the door somewhere. You can do it discreetly or you can do it artistically, whatever. Mine, I put a big chalk mark on. Doesn't matter if it stays because you did it with intention. So 2 plus a 9 is 11, which adds up to 2 again.
Yeah.
So 2 is a highly recommended number for a calming environment for a home life. So, but you can decide what you want and you can experiment. Don't change it very often, once a month. Don't change it more than once a month, but experiment. Put a 5 back there and see what happens. Put a 5 and then you 5 with a 4, you get a 9. You get a 5 with a 2, you get a 7. You want a more spiritual life, get a 7. So that's just one way to deal with not having to move. You can do that, and then that will change the vibration of your home, and changing vibration of your home will tend to, if you are mindful about it, change the vibration of your street.
Okay, so just to clarify, let's say if my place is a 5 and I want it to be a 2, I just write 2. I don't add something.
No. You got to do the addition. So if your number ends up being a 5 and you want it to be a 2, you got to add 6. You write 6 on the back of the door because that adds up to 11, and 11 reduces down to 2.
Well, wait a minute. 5 and 2 is 7.
5 and 6. So you're going to add 5, and you're going to put 6 on the back of your door, which adds up to 11.
In other words,
11.
to get it to a 2. Got you.
So if your number adds up to a 1, you want to put a 1 on the back of the door. Otherwise, you're going to put whatever additional thing adds you up to 11. So you can get back down to a 2.
If you want to be a 2.
If you want to be a 2, but you can experiment.
Yeah.
You might want to be an 8. 8. If you have a business home, having an 8 vibration is great.
Or maybe a 6 and you've got, harmony and things like that.
6 is very nurturing and very harmonious, and so you can add it to a 6.
Okay,
it's
gotcha.
up to you.
Oh, that's new to me. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that's the little address.
Hearing that.
The address.
Now, what about apartments? Like I live in an apartment and a building. They both have numbers.
The number on your building, and your address apartment number
together.
Together, that's the number of your vibration of your home.
Okay. Yeah. Which is a 5 in my case.
Okay, in your case, it's a 5. So if you really want to get that novel done, vibrate it up to a 9, because when you're in the 9, you're going to stay down. You're going to write that novel. You're not going to have anybody over. You're not going to have it's coronavirus all over again for you.
Very true.
And then when you're done, you can change it.
Yeah. Interesting. So I would add a 4.
Yeah. Now just pay attention if you're going to do that. Am I getting too isolated, too depressed? Am I getting it done? Is it too much 9? Pay attention and then just switch it, because 2 will get you through. 2 will get you through.
I am a 9, so that's something to consider too. If it's a very powerful number in your chart, it resonates with you.
Yeah. And you see the number that you call to leave a question here at the podcast is very well thought out numerologically. 520.
What number is it?
520. Listen to the 2s. 520. Wait a minute. 520 222 99 22. I have to sing it to remember it. So there's a ton of 2s. There's a couple of 9s, but it all starts out with that 5. Freedom, fun, adventure. 2, priestess within the tarot, priestess.
Yeah.
Harmony, depth, depth, and then the 2 9s, the hermit. So, anyways.
Well, the 5-2 is very significant because you have a 25.
Yeah. Oh, there you
go. Your soul position. So those 5-2 combo and that 7 is actually very good for you.
Ursula, you tell us one more time how people can get in touch with you to buy your book on palmistry, to get a reading from you, to get a numerological. When she does a reading for you, she does the palm and the numerology for you, by the way.
Yes, I do.
So if you want to know what your game changes are, will you tell us again your email address and your website?
Oh, okay. So my website is readingsbyursula.com. And then you would just, there's some articles there, and then there's a section called booking a reading, and you could just go on there and then get my address and just send an email from there. My email direct, which is also on the website, is readingsbyursula@shaw.ca. readingsbyursula@shaw.ca. And I do long distance readings all over the place. I would send you a template of all the information I would need from you prior to a reading. I need your palm print, I need a picture of you, I need your date of birth, your regular name and original name, some questions you want to ask. So I give you this template of all the things I require from you, and you send it all to me by email, and then I can provide a reading for you. You set a date and take it from there.
And get a reading soon before I convince her to raise her rates, because her rates are super low. So go ahead and call her soon, okay?
It's been a pleasure really doing this. It's really been a pleasure seeing you, and I really enjoyed this. And I learned some things too as well. And so it's been really great.
I'm so happy to be able to talk to you today and to have the world know more about you, because you're amazing. You're a beautiful mystic and clairvoyant, and a wise now elder. You're not that 17-year-old girl I used to know. You're now a wise elder. And
you're also wise. You're also a beautiful soul. It's so good to reconnect after all of these years. It's just amazing how that happens. Eh?
I know. I'm so pleased. So thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you, Ursula. And we will have you back in a year or so when you're ready, and maybe when your novel's done, we can have you back. We'll talk about that.
Would love
All right,
to.
my darlings. So
Okay.
thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.